Everyone, as you all know that we are continuing the series of ex-SSS thing. So today we have Group Captain YK Gupta sir, who was previously interviewing officer at two big AFSBs, that is two AFSB Mysore and four AFSB Varanasi. So since till now we have covered regarding service experience, secondly about basics of SSB mindset, and thirdly about the screening process in general. So in this session we will cover about the phase two part and predominantly the interview part. So since sir has got a detailed experience of assessing more than 5,000 plus candidate in interview. So sir, again a warm welcome on behalf of whole Next Officers group.
Thank you very much, Pallab, once again.
Thank you, sir. So sir, moving forward with the talks. So sir, like now as a candidate who gets screened in, sir, now he faces this interview in his either in day 2, day 3 or day 4, and in AFSB sometimes at day 5 as well. So sir, what exactly a candidate should follow in terms of pre-interview part when he has not even got screened in, like the very much the basic part of interview, how he should prepare for it, sir?
Okay, Vallabh, before actual testing starts, there are certain forms which are to be filled by the candidates.
So
Among these, one of the important document which the candidates fill is a PIQ or Personal Information Questionnaire, which is generally done after the psych test is written, or it might be before also. Okay, so this Personal Information Questionnaire or the PIQ is the mother document as far as the interviewing is concerned. This PIQ will also be used for other techniques, but predominantly for interview. So this PIQ has all the information of the candidate which is required by an interviewing officer to pitch his interview. Like apart from his basic things like his name, family details, his education, his extracurricular activities, his responsibilities which he has taken, all these things are documented in the PIQ. So from there we decide, okay, which area we need to explore. Basically, our aim is to find out the level of those leadership traits which candidates have. So this is the information through which we find out those traits or the level up to which these things are developed. So for a candidate, if he is performed or he's done something in a particular area, he must mention that, because then it would be a very realistic question for him. Like somebody who's participated in, let's say, football, he's been captain of his team. So if that thing figure out in, it is written in the PIQ, so I know that he's got this experience, so I can ask questions in that particular area. My aim is to find a means through which I get those level of OLQs from the candidate. So PIQ becomes the most important thing for us, and I would advise candidates that they must think before writing PIQ. That can be done actually at home also. What all activities he has done, at what level, what is genuine interest of his, or which are events he has participated. Because once he writes in extracurricular activities, interviewing officer is likely to ask from there only, and he is not under a pressure to give something, a reply which he is not experienced. So it is a win-win situation for the candidate as well as the interviewing officer. So PIQ has to be filled very, very carefully and giving the correct information.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very,
right. Yeah.
So, coming
right. This is the basic preparation which can be done before the actual testing starts. Yes. And of course, he must also revise whatever the general awareness thing he must revise in his mind, or whatever the data he has probably explored over a last period of time. He can revise those things, and then he should also have a good sleep before interview, so that he is totally fresh. He must have chit chat with his friends, enjoy, so that he's come for the interview with a very fresh mind.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very well told. And I personally feel that all those things which you mentioned was being done by me and my buddy mates who are there in academy now. So, sir, like you pointed out very well regarding PIQ, and generally when we as a candidate prepare for SSB, हम पीआईक्यू को ऐसा कुंडली कहते हैं कि अगर आपकी कुंडली में कोई गड़बड़ है तो फिर इवेंचुअली यू एंड अप नॉट मेकिंग इट टू व्हाटएवर यू आर गोइंग फॉर. सो सर टोल्ड टू हाउ टू प्रिपेयर फॉर पीआईक्यू एंड मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली कि जो आप लाइफ में कर रहे हो उसके बारे में अवेयरनेस रखना, चाहे आप जो स्पोर्ट्स खेल रहे हो, जो भी चीजें आप कर रहे हो डे टू डे लाइफ में. Sir, so moving forward, so now as soon as the PIQ is filled, all assessors have all these PIQs in front of them. So sir, like what exactly assessor checks before the candidate comes into the interviewing hall
Okay,
in the PIQ?
this PIQ is not available with all the assessors. It is mainly used by interviewing officer and psychologist. Group testing officer doesn't have the PIQ. That's the first thing. Okay, so like as I said, PIQ is the mother document for us as an interviewing officer. In that, what I would look at is his family background, what kind of background he is coming from. Then from his activities level, I know what kind of experiences he had, what was the opportunities which were available to him in his life, because my his outcome or his achievements will be weighed against the opportunities available.
Yes.
And during the interview we will check out what happens with those experiences, what was the outcome, and how it has changed him. So this PIQ will also tell us where to pitch in the interview. Somebody who's from a convent school, we would expect that he would know English very well. Somebody who's coming from rural area, rural background, I would know that he might be a little tight with English, so I have to give that much time to him. I know which area I should take the interview to. Somebody who's, it's a basic thing. Somebody who's stayed all through in village, there's no point asking about a multinational company or about mall. So basically the relevance of the questions would be decided based on the background of the candidate and the activities he has been involved or the responsibilities he has taken. If he's got let's say experience of NCC, then I have a point to check about his NCC experiences, what he had learned. So this is why PIQ is most important for our interviewing officer.
So very, very detailedly, minutely covered that he basically knowing the in and out about the candidate before he actually comes or she actually comes into the hall. What exactly the background was, what exactly the schooling he or she has done, what kind of mindset he or she have gone through the life so far. So for those who are watching this session, like आप लोग को अब realize हो गया होगा कि PIQ की value कितनी importance है. Basically, is creating the officer is creating the mind picture of you before you actually come into the hall. So, sir, moving forward, now the candidate enters the hall, and there are some basic few questions which generally is being asked to maintain, like to make him comfortable or her comfortable. So, sir, what exactly assessor looks into that question and how a candidate can do better in that few starting questions?
Okay, so this candidate is coming in a testing environment when he enters the room. So there would be a certain amount of anxiety he might be facing. So since it is a personality interview, our aim is to see the candidate as he is in normal circumstances. So we try to make him comfortable. So we would ask him general questions where he doesn't have to put in effort. We would like him to speak so that he becomes confident after some time. So that is it would be like normal introduction and what kind of routine he has followed in the previous day or in the morning, or which all places he has been, or which place he comes from. This is a very generic question. He can answer, anybody can answer, and in this process he reduces his anxiety, becomes comfortable. Once he becomes comfortable, then we start our questions. The first questioning is in through the CIQ, comprehensive introductory question. Basically it's a set of questions which is is a researched set of question which will ask each and every aspect of the candidate in a particular area. Like first question would be with respect to his education and all, so it will elicit all information from the candidate. So this CIQ becomes important for the candidate as well as for the interviewing officer, because in that small set of question he is getting all the information. So once the CIQ is given to or the administered to the candidate, he start replying, and based on his replies corroborating with the PIQ, we decide which all further questioning is required. And now the aim is till PIQ study, we were more of what kind of background, what kind of experience he has. Now we start looking for from that background, from those experiences, how has he developed, how has he changed, and what kind of temperament, quality of those OLQs he has been able to achieve.
Yes, sir. Sir, so summarizing this thing, like from the PIQ and from the CIQs. So in general, assessor actually evaluates whatever he has filled in the form and is it correct as per the best existing knowledge. And apart from that, what exactly he has done throughout his whole career. So, sir, now for example, a candidate is coming from a village background, and eventually when they come up they are facing some issues in either speaking in good English, or else they're not that comfortable. So sir, how that thing can be overcome, and is that important to speak up in English if at all a candidate is getting stuck somewhere in English and they want to speak in Hindi? So how an assessor actually looks into this thing, sir?
Okay, well, the official language for defense services is actually English.
So
so we want the candidate should have the basic knowledge of English. He should be able to put across his ideas in English. Now, when it is in the testing condition, we also know somebody who's from village, he may not have that kind of exposure. So we give him some concession in terms of, like, we give him chance to speak in a combination of Hindi or English. Now this Hindi is there and not other regional language, because most of the time assessors would know either Hindi or English. So he can supplement his thought communication of his thought process through Hindi, but he should try and speak in English, because ultimately his communication in English is required for his services also. Yes, we do give concession that with training he would further improve, but he has to show that he can speak that much in English which can be improved in subsequent training. So there is nothing wrong if somebody speaks in Hindi for a while, or if he is not finding a particular word, he can speak in Hindi. That is acceptable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well told, sir. That there are concessions given and many candidates out here जिनको अगर इंग्लिश में बोलने में दिक्कत होती है, so don't take it otherwise कि नहीं हमें select नहीं करेंगे. Concessions are given, but yes, as sir pointed out, you need to speak up, you need to try your best, you need to work on your communication part, and eventually little bit is still fine, but eventually you need to cover most of the part in English. So sir, taking forward this thing, generally sir, many candidates come and feel that कि हमारे जो CIQs के क्वेश्चंस पूछे, हम वी इधर आर नॉट एबल टू ऑर्गेनाइज दोस आंसर्स इन अ वेरी वेल वे, और एल्स द क्वेश्चंस आर स्किप्ड. So sir, how it is being looked on by an assessor point of view, and how a candidate can work on it to make it a much effective way in presenting answers?
Okay, see, CIQ is got a particular sequence of questions. Many times candidates are not able to answer in the same sequence. It doesn't matter much, but like, sometimes the questions are left out. So if you try and recollect, in case you are not able to recollect, you may ask the interviewing officer to repeat. The technique here is, when you're listening, you should be able to correlate those questions, because these questions are actually interwoven into each other. They cannot be separated. So it is only that what happens is, you may be covering one particular aspect little more than what was required, and in that effort you forget about the other part. Ultimately, in case you feel that something you have not been able to cover, and you can always ask the assessor again to repeat. There is no harm basically, but your ability to grasp those many questions will of course give us some input on your grasping power.
Yes, sir. So like basically the working memory is being checked continuously, like how exactly the candidate perceived the question and eventually delivers the answer. Sir, now there are instances when actually a candidate is answering the question and eventually the interviewing officer or the person who is taking the interview cross questions that thing, and thereafter they leave that questions eventually later on when the CIQ, like the questions which was pending. So people feel that the question were already crossed. So is it important to cover the remaining part of the question, or a candidate can like go as per the flow of the interviewing officer, sir?
See, after your CIQ replies to CIQ questions, there are certain follow-up questions which take place. Basically, whatever you covered, if the interviewing officer finds something more he wants to know, so he will ask that follow-up question. And if he is satisfied during your reply itself that he's got the sufficient reply, sufficient information from the question, he may ask you to skip further. So you need not feel bad about it. But from your side, till he stops you, you should give the reply. And the reply should be restricted to the question asked. And you should not wander away from the subject for which the question was asked. That is very important.
Yes, sir. So I guess there are many candidates out here. They might have now they're feeling relaxed कि ऐसा भी होता है. Otherwise, due to unnecessary pressure, they eventually feel that कि हमें तो cut कर दिया गया था, and eventually I will not make it or they will not make it. So sir has pointed out this thing. So sir, since after like in the middle of the interview, there are areas where situations comes up in picture. Like कहीं ना कहीं sir, interviewing officer asks some SRTs. So what exactly he or she is looking for, like in the candidate, कि ये क्या निकालना चाहते हैं exactly, sir?
Okay. What happens is during the interview, there are a lot of things which come up about the personality aspect of the candidate. Now, if he has got enough experiences, the qualities we can extract from those, when he talks about those experiences, we are able to extract those qualities. But there could be a possibilities, somebody who's not been into some kind of activities, which gives us input on those certain qualities. Like, just to give you an example, courage. Somebody who's not played much, he's not taken anything in no physical form, or he's not done any adventure activities, he's not got any exposure to such kind of activities, maybe because of his background. Now, but we want to ascertain how is his courage. So we will end up giving him some situation where this particular aspect may be reflected. And it is not necessarily that for courage only we will ask. We will give him some situation, something is real life situation as per his background, and we would expect an answer from him. Now remember, Pallab, that interviewing officer is actually is a psychologist also. He knows when you say something, in what context you are saying, and the reply of yours is not taken on face value. It is related to your various aspects before finally we making out some quality aspect of OLQ aspect of it. So do not try to fool the officer, interviewing officer. You give your genuine replies, whether it is a situation created or it is about your own experiences or about your responsibilities you have undertaken. Whatever question has been asked, give the honest reply.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, very well told about this thing. And the one point which many candidates out can relate, कि आप है ना, a candidate can never make a fool to an assessor, because the number of years the assessor has served in the forces is way more higher than the age of the candidate. And eventually, if they fool all those things, so they'll end up getting not recommended. So, sir, since there are many candidates out here who are watching this session and whom you have taken interview in your time, so, sir, generally, sir, what all areas you were actually digging out, and आपने किस basis पे कुछ candidates को like not recommend कराया था अपने time पे interview के लिए, लेकिन some general mistakes क्या करते हैं candidate?
Okay, candidates, basically aim of interviewing officer is to select each and everyone, unless there is something which is going to be counter productive for the organization. So when we look at candidate holistically, what we look at is, has he improved with his previous experiences, which have been emphasizing again and again? and then against the benchmark of our OLQs. Now, what organization need is a candidate who can work, who has some determination, who can work against odds, has got courage enough, and is got mental faculty which is able to devise some solutions for the general problems. And one important thing which is peculiar to defense services is that his social adjustment, because the environment in which defense services work is little not very common. We work in team. Without team, there is no existence. So we see this particular aspect of social adjustment very, very deep. So candidates would be asked so many questions on this particular aspect. The kind of mistakes what candidates, what I have seen, have made is denial mode. They do not want to acknowledge certain things. Like whenever we ask some situations where the question might be the adverse situation. Now he would say, just to portray that no, he's got no negative in himself, he will say, no sir, I did not face any negative situation. I didn't when I ask him, have you ever had fight? Now he then, no, I'm asking in what context. Now he will just deny, no, I never had a fight. Whereas could have been a cases where actually he could have fought. Okay, so this is a major mistake, the denial. Second is in candidates based on what is available on internet and whatever hear and say, like no, this question is asked, reply in this particular manner. So he comes with a perceived thought. Okay, if somebody asks me about my friend's view, I will say this is this. Whereas actual personality may not be as per that. Now I can see his personality, but he is replying, giving me input for something which is not related at all. Now 2-3 times I will ask in a different manner. Now if he persistently say the incorrect answers, so that means he cannot be honest.
Yes.
So probably I would not like to recommend him.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Right? And sometimes candidate come prepared with his strength and weaknesses beforehand, but he's not putting his mind that no, actually he should find out. He's just coming what is good for one of his friends who got selected, so he will come the same thing for himself, and again there is a mismatch because it is not congruent with what he has been saying so far, so he will get adversely affected. So these are the few mistakes. Basically they are trying to copy paste someone else's personality first. Second, they are taking input from internet which might be incorrect, and they're trying to put it that way. So these things should be avoided.
Sir, very finally covered that sir ने अपने time में क्या क्या candidates को देखा और what was the major common mistakes generally candidate do, and many candidates out here who are watching group captain YK Gupta sir, and sir ने काफी लोग के interview लिया होंगे, तो don't take it otherwise. सर ने कुछ अच्छे reasons के लिए आपको not recommend करा होगा. You need to fight back, come back as sir did in his time. And sir, कहीं ना कहीं one question is striking me now. Sir, is there any kind of sympathy or empathy in candidate think he can do well, let's pass him somehow, and मतलब it is his last attempt, ऐसा कुछ होता है क्या sir? Like I've never heard of this thing, but generally candidate ask कि last attempt था and I got recommended. So how is it taken as an SSS point of view, sir?
Okay, as I said, no, for an interviewing officer, he wants to select each and every officer, each and every candidate, provided he stands to the benchmark, whether he is coming for the first time or he is coming after 20th time. Benchmark remains same, and weighing against the benchmark remains same. The only difference would be for a fresher, I may leave certain areas without much of fuss, in the sense I may not penalize him if he doesn't know anything. Let's say if he doesn't know much about Air Force, I may not penalize him. But somebody who's coming for 20th time, if he is not able to tell me about the basics of Air Force, then I will penalize him, because now that means he has not learned from his past mistakes. My philosophy is he had certain experiences, what he has learned from those experiences. Now, first timer, fine, he has not learned this particular aspect, but otherwise he is okay. But for a 20th timer, the same question become very important, that no, he is not learned even from that. So this how we differentiate. There is no sympathy or no favor for no, for a fresher, or we are not against a repeater or a last time type. There is no sympathy word used as such. Yes, we do see everyone in a positive sense, that we want to recommend everyone, provided they meet those benchmarks.
Yes, sir. Very well told. And that is what is the selection of war at the SSB, not taking any minute test of the risk and eventually making those who are the finest fit at the right or the right fits. Sir, carrying forward, one question was being asked by many candidates, like, sir, there are many gray areas in many candidates' life. Like either they have taken a drop after their 12th, or else they are working or they're preparing for some government exams after their engineering or college or whatsoever things. Thereafter, sir, there are some gray areas where they have not performed well in that in any subject. So, sir, how exactly a candidate can work on these areas? And generally, many candidates can relate out here that ऐसे questions आप लोग के life में भी आए होंगे. So, sir, what exactly SSL looks into this thing, sir?
Okay, I would repeat again my thing. What kind of experiences and what he has learned from those experiences. Now, some gray areas of his life, like no, he did a drop. It is a common thing. There are so many people who do that drop. Now, I would like to know because of what reason he did not perform in a particular competitive exam even after drop. Now, there could be n reasons. Now, I am again weighing whether that reason was correct, or what was the condition because of which he has to do the he could not prepare or whatever, and what learning he has taken out of that particular incident. So I will give him leeway if he is performed later in his life in a better manner. That means he has learned from his that past mistake or failure. But if he has not learned, he has taken a drop, he did not perform in his competitive exams also, and after that again he is continuing with the same kind of mindset. So yes, that is means he has not been learning. So we do not call it taking a drop here as a gray area. It is one experience.
Exactly.
Now, similarly, there could be a possibility somebody failed in 11th class. Now, the people or the candidate might think it's a big negative. No, we don't look at that way. If you failed in 11th, how did you come out of that particular situation, and how did you perform in the later part? Somebody who failed in 11th, if he get good marks in 12th, I would give him credit and not say that no, he was bad because he failed in 11th.
Exactly.
You may have a dip, but how have you come out of that dip is what is more important. Somebody who has succeeded all his life, probably in my view or in SSB view, would not be the best candidate. Someone who has failed and then come out of it and succeeded is a better candidate as far as SSB is concerned.
Exactly, sir. Very, very nicely explained that there is no gray areas as such. It's only about fighting back, and continuous learner eventually makes it. As sir pointed out कि अगर किसी को class 10th में कम marks and eventually have got a good marks in 12th, so sir will rate him high, and eventually that is what even assessor is looking from. और कहीं ना कहीं many candidates feel that कि हमने ये कर नहीं पाए, वो नहीं कर पाए. So will that create an impact? So sir has pointed out, I guess, sir has given answers to each and every questions, whatever was pinging in your mind. Sir, covering to the last important part of the interviewing aspect, that generally, sir, now an interviewing officer is basically the senior most of all the three assessors. That is what we have heard when we were preparing for SSB. And sir, is it true, sir? If I ask.
Okay, this is not necessarily true,
Sir.
But in general, the officers, interviewing officers are generally the high on seniority, because for taking interview, you require a vast experience, that kind of maturity, because not everything can be put on paper.
Sir.
Okay, so basically, so that they have a wide view of the candidate's life. That's why generally they will be on the little higher side of service.
Sir, so now, like since you told ki generally they are having a good experience. So now when sir a candidate performs well or in a doubtful case or in a no-no case, so what exactly happens in the conference part and how assessor takes the weightage, gives the weightage for a candidate if he has done exceptionally good in interview but not so good in psych or GTO, or if he's in a doubt case. So what exactly happens, sir? And what exactly is your experience in conference in getting recommended?
Okay. This is the actually a very important aspect for the candidate to understand that these three techniques, they are equal. Their weightage is equal. And at this testing level, every assessor assesses his candidate independently. Now in conference, it is a combined effort now. In conference, all the assessors who have assessed the candidate, they discuss about the personality of the candidate. There is a possibility that some assessor may clear some candidate, some other assessor may not clear. Now we discuss that what kind of things would have led to this situation. So we exchange perceptions there, that how a particular technique felt and how the other technique felt. And then when we have a logical discussion, we come out with a logical answer also, that this could be the reason because of which probably an interviewing officer has failed and GTO has cleared, or it is that no, GTO has failed and interviewing officer has cleared. So once the perception is clear, then we know whether this candidate is fit for selection. The basic purpose of conference is that all the three techniques come together and discuss the candidate, and they finally conclude by exchanging perception. And once the candidate is cleared, it is whether it is cleared by interviewing officer or psychologist or by group testing officer, it doesn't matter. As far as the relevance is concerned, all the three relevant techniques are equally relevant.
Yes, sir. Very well told, and that is what exactly happens in conference, as sir pointed out. They come to common consensus is ki exactly the candidate is the right material for it or not. So, sir, one last question would be ki now, sir, a candidate has prepared very well for his interview, psych, GTO, and now if he or she is going to attempt his upcoming SSB, AFSB for whatever entry, NDA, CDS, AFCAT, 10 plus 2 BTech, whatever entry is going for. So in general, sir, for NDA candidates, first of all, 10 plus 2 entries, what exactly an assessor is looking in general, and for graduation entry, like generally both and trainability is a factor which is being also looked on. So, sir, throw some highlight in a short time, sir, so that we can summarize this.
Okay. Okay, the difference between NDA candidate and graduate candidate is the training for NDA candidate is going to be 4 years, and for graduate candidate it would be 1.5 years or so. So the training time for graduate candidate is relatively lesser than NDA candidate. So our system of assessment caters for the trainability aspect, is that how much he can improve. Now for an NDA candidate, now he is growing up, so there is a lot of scope for him to improve, so his trainability is better. For a graduate candidate, he is already reached a particular age, so as such changes are going to be lesser, and further the training itself is shorter, so his trainability is lesser. The end product is same. At the end of training, we require an officer with that particular qualities. So now we go, let's say if I want 100 marks at the end, somebody who's graduate, if he gets 10 marks for his trainability, NDA should get about 20 marks because he's got double the training time. So his trainability is higher.
Yes, sir.
So with the same end product, we can, in NDA, we can take a candidate who's got little lesser abilities at that particular time, but he has the promise of improving to the same level which a graduate would appear or would come up to after 1.5 years of training.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there is, of course, better chance in NDA.
Yes, sir. So very well covered, starting from the PIQ till the end of conference and till the training part, that is the trainability part, and which sir has highlighted, there is some marks to it as well. So we covered n number of things, particularly in interview, and more importantly, the candidate's point of view in general, because sir has discussed regarding myths, regarding communication, that is English, Hindi, kab kaise switch karna hai, and eventually some kind of concession. Thereafter, sir told कि it's all about proper reasoning for proper answers wherever you are giving. There is no gray areas as such. If you feel it's a gray area, then work on it and prove it to be the your learning attitude aspect. Eventually, sir also covered that what exactly were the reasons for which sir have not recommended many candidates in his time. Basically, the denial approach and thereafter not learning all those things. So beautifully covered by sir, and thank you so much, sir, for joining today and helping a lot of candidates. So that before we close this thing, what would be one piece of advice those who are going for either AFSB, NSB, or SSB?
Okay, the one piece of advice would be prepare well before the exam. That means prepare well for the SSB, where I told you certain aspects about communication and other things. But in case, like no, if you wish, there are a lot of things available on internet, but then you have to segregate those information to implement it correctly. Otherwise, as there are so many coachings or guidance classes for everything, whether it's a IIT, JEE, or any competition for that matter. So maybe you can take help of some certified assessor who could guide you for a absolutely right way, rather than giving you unnecessary input, which actually becomes counterproductive for us. But then it is important that you identified the right guide. Otherwise, it will be counterproductive.
Yes.
SSB Mentor is .com is one of the coaching institution which is providing that guidance for the benefit of candidate. It is being manned by myself as well as Wing Commander Kapil Rao Tantla, who's been the psychologist. We have made it a point that no, our aim is to make benefit to the candidates for getting into the defense services, and we are not doing much. We are just trying to give them the right direction, and the candidate is able to achieve with those direction a very good success in SSBs.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for covering everything in the minutest way. As sir pointed out at the end regarding the initiative which sir along with two more officers are doing, like basically that is a very nice initiative which is just opposite to 3 FSB Gandhinagar. So guys, you can check out the link in the description. Everything is clearly mentioned how you can reach out to sir. Sir is previously an assessor, has taken interview of more than 5,000 candidates, 18,000 plus candidates assessment in screening part, and also the initiative which sir and the other counterparts officers are there. They have till date have got number of recommendations so far. So thank you so much, sir, for again joining and helping out candidates. It was really great interacting with you, sir.
Yeah, it was a nice opportunity I got to interact with candidates for their benefit. Thank you, Ballab. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.